Be careful what you wish for. You may aspire to an executive job, maybe even the C-suite, and there's certainly a lot of good that can come with that kind of role. But it ain't all sunshine and roses. That's certainly been the experience for Erica Rooney, this week's guest on the DesuckifyWork Podcast. Erica is an author, speaker, coach, and fractional CPO who spent years climbing the corporate ladder, only to find herself asking, why exactly did I want this craziness? The work was intense and nearly never-ending. The system felt rigged against her and other women leaders, and her ability to balance all of that with her role as a mom was simply a pipe dream. It was her then 2-year-old daughter who ultimately inspired Erica to choose a different path. She realized she did not want her child to go through what she was dealing with. So, Erica created something new so she could change the world for the better. Now, it's her mission to help more women get into power and stay there. This is how things will change. And if you spend more than 2 minutes with Erica, you will 1000% believe she can make this happen. She's smart, strong, and full of an infectious energy for her work. She's written a book, Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floors, that speaks to much of her experience. Some of her key points include language matters and shapes culture. People leader says something very different from manager. Works with is not the same as works for. So choose your words appropriately. Ditch the highlight reel style of communication and be willing to share some of the tough stuff. You're only setting others up for failure if you tell them that the bar is insta-level perfection. Let people work where, when, and how they work most effectively, and judge folks based on outcomes. Erica would love to see the 40-hour workweek become obsolete. Me too. Lastly, she is a big proponent of full pay transparency. It's hard to level up a system if the system hides everyone's level. Nothing to hide here. Erica has a ton of ideas for how to make work better, whether you're in the C-suite or just getting started. Welcome to the DesuckifyWork Podcast, the show where we cut through the BS and find ways to make work more fun, more human, and less ridiculous. All of which makes your business more profitable, by the way. If you enjoy this one, please like, share, rate, review, or subscribe to the podcast. Let the desuckifying begin. Here's Erica. Okay, Erica Rooney, welcome to the DesuckifyWork Podcast.
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm on a podcast called DesuckifyWork, but I'm here for it.
I am excited to have you on. I know you do a lot of great work out there. So before we dive in, I'd love to give you a chance to talk a bit about what you do and how you came to be doing it.
Oh man, I was just talking about this with somebody else because he was like, well, how do you even describe what you do, Erica? Because you do so much. And I said, I know. I said, it short, I'm an author, a speaker, and a founder. I was like, that's the easiest way to do it. I'm a chief people officer by trade, though, and I wear a ton of different hats, but they all ladder up to one mission, which is to get more women into positions of power and keep them there. I kind of came up through the HR ranks. I was a CPO in tech. Now I do fractional work in that world. And I always am trying to pull women up the ladder with me and just get more women into these leadership roles and, you know, allow them to just conquer the world and be the best versions of themselves. And so that's kind of the professional side of me. I'm the host on 3 different podcasts. And so there's a lot that goes into that. I'm an author of the book Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floors. And then I have another book, TJ, coming out in 2026 that's called The AI Gap, Women, AI, and the Next Great Leap Forward.
Nice.
And I'm a mom and a wife, and I got a dog, and doing all the things, juggling all the balls.
Excellent. So lots of free time to just hang out and chill.
Love that. Yes.
Excellent. What kind of motivated you to focus your career in this way, helping other women kind of move up?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And a lot of it, I think, happened, you know, just by chance. Originally, I was in the world of fitness, and I will remember this forever, TJ. I was like, the very first job I had out of college, I was a corporate health and wellness trainer for Verizon. Yes, the cell phones. I remember thinking in that first year, like, I can't believe I'm so lucky that I found the job I'm going to retire from. I'm like, oh, Sweet little baby Erica, you were such a little baby lamb, you know? And I hit my very first glass ceiling before I was even 30 at Verizon. And that was the fact that they basically said, hey, Erica, you're awesome, but there's no more upward mobility for you here. So you're be able to grow your salary and we're not going to be able to grow your role. And that was it. And so that was the end of the road for me. And that's when I transitioned into HR and I just started climbing the ladder. And, I'm very growth minded and I am a very extra person. That's how I like to describe myself. I get, and I don't do this to toot my own horn, but like I probably get 80 hours of work done in a 40-hour work a week. Like I'm just very productive. And so I scaled the ladder super quickly. Like in under 10 years, I was a chief people officer. I was leading $150 million mergers and acquisitions. Like I was doing the good work.
Mm-hmm.
2 small babies at home. And I was frazzled, like absolutely frazzled. And TJ, like we have been told all our lives, like this is what we're going for.
Mm-hmm.
In my brain, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I've quote made it. I'm a C-level leader. I'm making multiple 6 figures. I have this, what looks like on paper, incredible job. I've got 2 kids, but like I am absolutely miserable. And a lot of it was because I was a woman who was trying to be this all-in mom.
Yeah.
A badass C-level leader. And it was very challenging. And I think there's this interesting conundrum that women of my generation are in right now where our mothers didn't necessarily have the same freedom of choice when it came to what they did.
Yeah.
Like my mom was a nurse. Most women were nurses or teachers back then.
Mm-hmm.
We were brought up like you can be anything you want to be. But the system, right, of how we raise our children and how women are involved and how women are the primary caregivers didn't change at all. Here I was, breadwinner, internationally traveling for weeks at a time and still trying to be this all-in mom. And I burnt myself out and it was miserable. And I looked at my daughter who was so young at the time. I mean, she's only 7 now. So she was like 2 or 3. And I remember thinking like, I don't want her to have to go through this and do all the things. And I started studying a lot of the data for women because it was like, how could this be only me?
Right.
And then out, Erica, it's not. You're underpaid, you're overworked. It's proven, through data and research that women have to prove their competence where men are promoted on their confidence. And I was like, you know what? We got to change the world for the better. And that's kind of how that whole story came to be.
Well, I think it sounds like a wonderful mission. It sounds like a hefty mission. There's work there. And in that vein, I'm curious for you personally, now that you've gone through all that, what role is work currently playing in your life?
Huge. I can never not work. Like I don't mean that in like I'm a workaholic. Like I can celebrate and take my breaks, but I am so fueled by doing meaningful work and by helping people that I got to be doing something in that capacity. I have clients fractionally where I work as their chief people officer and I do anything they need me to do, whether that is being their strategic HR business partner or sometimes it's doing a few onboardings if they're a small company and they don't have any, and actually do an I-9 or something like that.
Yeah.
So those realms, but then I also run Her Collective, which is my entire membership for women who can come in and get group coaching and do monthly master classes. And because I'm the founder and CEO of that, it's all about scaling and growth and revenue numbers and the marketing. And just that was an incredible shift for me when you're talking about work, going one function, which was HR, people, culture, and belonging, to CEO of everything, know, like, so work has expanded greatly. It's become more meaningful to me and it's become more of a mission than it is work.
And how is that affecting the way you feel relative to how you felt when you got to the top of the ladder and looked around and go, what, this is it?
What the hell? I think you always have to go through it to really understand just the ecosystem and where you're at. And like, if I had just come out of college and hit the ground running and started my own business, like that wasn't the path that was meant for me. Like I had to go through it to do what I do today. And I often think about that, right? Like, if I had been a different person, I could have stayed in that role at Verizon for the rest of my life. Like I have friends and colleagues who are 40, 50 years old and they were still doing that role. So I could have done that, but that wasn't meant for me, right?
Yeah.
And I think like the difference is emotionally, because it is something that is so tied to me personally, fulfilling. I'm more excited. Like I'll tell you, just yesterday, TJ, I was in a tizzy about something ridiculous. I won't even go into it, but I was in a foul mood and I was like, I've got to go lead one of my coaching calls for my community because we had our weekly coaching call scheduled. Obviously, I wasn't in the mood, but you got to face, you got to do your thing because you're the owner and you are the person who's doing the coaching. And I get on there, and one of our founding members, who she's been with us for over a year, she's applied to 22 internal promotions at a Fortune like 1 company where she works currently. She's been rejected for every single one of them. And just been kicked while she was down. She comes on yesterday and she goes, I have some news. And I'm thinking, this girl was just on vacation. What kind of news she got for me? And I said, well, that was good news. You know, thinking maybe she had an interview somewhere else. And she goes, they gave me a promotion. And I was like, you know, and just like that, my entire day changed. It was from focusing on something that didn't matter, you know, focusing on something that really did. And it's just a complete different level of freedom.
Yeah, I can imagine that emotional experience on your end is pretty powerful. And, you know, you brought something up there that struck me, which is this, with all of the social cultural noise that women who are trying to kind of climb the ladder are getting in terms of how you need to be at home, how you need to be at work, and even like, what do you want at work? I mean, that seems like its own particular challenge, right? Because I think you've got the you can be anything narrative that came when you were younger. And then you've got still some of the slightly more traditional female tracks, so to speak. You know, how do you find yourself in all of that and really get clear on like, what do I want? And then what are the tools I need to succeed in them?
So I'm taking a few notes because I think this is super fascinating. And I think the women of my generation, we were told you can be anything you want.
Yeah.
And there was this invisible shackle, I'll say. But you must be very successful. And this is what success looks like.
Yeah.
And there was a very very clear picture of what that was, right? You can be anything didn't mean that I could go be a creative artist. You can be anything didn't mean you can go start a business, Erica. You can be anything meant that you can go to a corporate job, you can get a good, decent salary, and you can go for promotion after promotion after promotion, right? It was the more money you make, the better your title, and we hope you're a little bit happy, but that's a bonus. Was what they meant by you can be anything.
Okay.
You know? But I think we were also just sold this bill of goods that if you're getting those things, you're going to be happy. If you're getting you're going to be fulfilled. And we see these people up at the top of the ladder and we just think, oh my God, it's going to be so great up there. The view, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. To say that, but to be honest, for anybody who's listening, right, I love to say this, the view from the top is not fantastic in most places, and that is because this whole podcast exists. Desuckify. A lot of people have climbed the corporate ladder on luck alone, and not because they're good people leaders, but because they were great at one tactical thing. Or quite honestly, there's a lot of narcissists at the top of the ladder and a lot of people with some mental health disabilities who are really great charmers and can work way up to the top. So like, it's not great and they don't always know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So get to a place that, listens to this podcast and adopts the methodologies and what they hear here, then you're in a place. Stick around.
Well, that brings up another question, right? Because let's say you do climb the ladder, you get there and you realize, it's a little screwy up here. But part of you is like, I want to be here. Damn it, I worked hard to get here. And there was a core reason under all of that, even if I had to play a lot of games to kind of make it there. But here I am. I'm the chief people officer, or I'm the CEO, or I'm the chief marketing officer. And now I want to do some good. I want to desuckify work a bit. And I'm finally in a place where at least I think it's possible for me to have that influence. Now, what do? How do you show up in the midst of what's maybe not what you expected, but it's the reality on the ground, and try to have the influence you'd like to have?
Well, I would say, number one, you got to play the game to win the game, to change the game, right? So I did have to play the game. Like, God, when I think of some of the things that like my younger self did with networking meetings and putting others before myself and, all of those things, it's like, I don't want anyone else to have to do that. But I played the game and won the game. And then I got to that position and I really wanted to change the game.
Yeah.
I will never forget, as soon as you said that question, it was like I had the perfect story for it. And I had this moment when I was leading an HR team and I had everybody come to Raleigh, North Carolina, where I lived. We were going to do this in-person workshop. It was going to be intensive all day, blah, blah, blah. And the day they got there, I realized that I had a virtual therapy appointment scheduled that I had totally forgotten about right in the middle. And I was like, oh my God. Of course, it was that day. So if I canceled it, I was going to lose the session. I really didn't want to do that. And I just had a moment with myself where I was like, you know what? Like, this is my opportunity to showcase to my team the importance of putting yourself first, the importance of prioritizing your mental health, and also showing them that, hey, your leader does struggle with mental health and does something about it and is okay talking about it. And so I said to them, like, hey guys, actually, we're going to have a 1 hour break. Y'all can do what you need to do, this, that, and the other. I have a virtual therapy appointment. I'm going to go right here. I was like, I think it should be good, but if I need 30 minutes after, I'm going to take it. And they were like, hey, cool. Flash forward, 2 weeks, everything else went fine. One of the women on my team sent me a text message and she said, hey, I'm having a really hard day today mentally. And she went into just a few things. And she said, because of how you showed up and said that, like, hey, I do this too. And like, this is my struggle too. She goes, it really made me feel like I could be honest with you and tell you these things. I just wanted you to know. And I was like, I love that. Take all the time you need. Work will be here when you get back. But because I showed up first, and I, as the chief people officer and the person in charge, had the privilege and the power to say, we're going to change this meeting, right? I have authority, but it gave her the comfort and the security to be able to say, you know what? Like, I think I can show up with Erica because of what Erica's shown us. That became the culture, right? People knew they could be their real selves. And so it's like, that's how we can change the game for other people. It's not about putting on this facade where everything's perfect. It's not about, butts in the seat and being there 24 hours a day. TJ, I will never forget when I had a brand newborn baby, I was trying to sneak out of the office at 4:30 p.m. because I had a 45-minute commute. So by the time I picked my newborn baby up, I got 1 hour with him before I had to put him to bed. So I would sneak out 30 minutes early. And my boss said to me, Erica, people are noticing that you're sneaking out early. He didn't say to me, Erica, people see that you work your entire lunch break. Erica, we know you come in an hour early usually. None of that mattered. Right? TJ, do you know what I did from 4:30 to 5 every single day at that job? I looked at People magazine online and I just read what was going on with the stars because I'm productive as hell and my job was already done.
Right.
I was scrolling through People magazine, missing precious time with my newborn baby because of a perception. And so that's the thing is when I came into the C-level, positions, it was very much you handle your life, you get your job done. I don't care when or how you work, right? And I give them the freedom to manage their life. And they thrived with
Yeah.
that. And like you want to talk about desuckifying work, that's how you desuckify work. You meet people where they're at and you give them freedom and autonomy when you can.
Yeah. I love that. I think we definitely need more of that. Is that part of what's motivating your mission to help more women kind of rise into these positions to be able to bring more of that into the world?
100%. And it's also a piece of, I think as women, we're taught often to just, make it nice. Everything's great. We don't complain. We suffer.
Yeah.
And then you've got the highlight reels on Instagram where every other mom has it all together and they're working and they're thriving and they're climbing the corporate ladder and jet setting to Dubai for work. When in reality, we're not seeing like the fight that they got into with their husband who's pissed at eating for 3 weeks, right? We're not looking at the kid who's crying because you missed their Christmas concert. Like, I'll tell you real quick, I didn't put that moment on Instagram when it happened. So being able to create that level of freedom, but also let other women know, like, I see you, I recognize it, I know, and just be that support is such a game changer for women to keep going when it is tough.
The whole social media thing's interesting, right? Because I think everybody feels and has that awareness that social media isn't real, but yet our brains are tricky.
Yeah.
And it just like, it's what we see, it's what we feel, it's what we absorb. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on this. How do you push back against that pressure to feel like, and maybe this is in particular as a woman, although I think on men, there's probably some corollaries, particularly like in the world of like fitness and toughness with men, there's like a lot of that. But for women, I think what you're examining is interesting. This, like, I've got it all together. That feels like a very uniquely female trope, so to speak. If anything can be done to push back against that in this world of social media where every other thing you see seems to be confirming that trope.
Talking about it.
Yeah.
Talking about it. And I will tell you, and this is my opinion, but I think that we don't put those things on social media because there is a level of shame and shame. Quiet, right? And whether that is you're ashamed your kid reacted a certain way, or you've got a little bit of shame because you didn't get the job you applied for, or what have you. Like, it is there.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this, but when I think about shame and public persona and putting yourself out there and worrying about what other people will think, what I learn is that when you are vulnerable and you put those things out there, you actually get all the power back, right? Because what you bring to the light, right? What you bring out to the light is what sets you free. And I'll share this story with you, and I think it will make a lot more sense. But I don't drink because I used to drink way too much. And nobody would have ever known that, right? Because I had it all together. And so when I was really struggling with the burnout and with corporate America, and I knew that I was drinking too much, do you think I told anybody about that? No. Do you think I had talked about it on social media? No. And it was because I felt such shame about it. And there's a lot of studies about addiction and shame and all of that. And that's good and fine. But I think that applies to so many different areas of our lives, right? Like, if my kid is flunking in school, I'm not going to go on there and be like, let's have a real mom talk. My kid sucks at math.
Yeah.
But it's important that we do that. And so one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life was I don't want to say I had to do it. I wanted to do it, was get comfortable talking about the things that I was ashamed of or embarrassed of in front of other people. And what I will tell you is it gets better and easier over time.
Yeah.
5 years ago, TJ, if you had talked to me and we had this exact same conversation, I wouldn't have brought that up. You would never have known. You might have sent me a bottle of wine after this as a thank you present, you know? Now it's like, no, this is who I am. And I talk about it.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, I was doing an intake call with a new client who's joining her collective. And I was just like, tell me about you personally. Like, we did all the professional stuff. And she goes, well, I don't normally say this. She's like, but I feel like I should probably tell you. She's like, but I'm a recovering alcoholic. I was like, oh, cool. Me too, girl. All right. And she was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, girl, you got to go read chapter 12 of my book, you know? And but just the relief that flooded her when she realized she wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
And that's where that power is and that community is, right? Because when she realized, like, okay, wow, it's safe here. Like, I see myself here. Like, I just said that and there was no weird looks or this or that or judgment here. Like, that is what women need. And that is what women need to provide each other. And so when you have the courage to show up and to be real about what's going on behind the scenes and to talk about what sucks and what doesn't suck too, but talk about it all. Like, that is how we can drive real change.
Yeah. Do you think beyond the sort of safe spaces like you're creating with her collective, how does this ability to share and be vulnerable show up if you're sort of on the way up trying to climb the ladder? I mean, you talked about sort of playing the game to win the game. I mean, when you get to the top, you have a little more of that leverage. But on the way up, do you still kind of need to put the face on and then just find your support systems? What do you think works there?
Listen, that's a tough question. I tell people all the time from an HR perspective, there are great companies and there are good companies and there are bad companies. There are great leaders and there are good leaders and there are bad leaders. And there will be leaders who support every piece of you. There will be leaders who support a little bit of you if you fit into their comfort zone. And there will be leaders who will never support you. You have to have that awareness about you to know how real you can be. And you also have to have a bit of self-awareness to know how real do you want to be at work.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't have to be a wide open book, right? Every single one of us kind of has a different barometer of what we're comfortable with. And you got to know what works for you. And then you've got to find an organization that can match that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying change what you think or anything about you, but, you know, I think people walk into companies and I think you need to be smart and be conscious and be curious about what you say and how you say it until you understand the landscape, right? And you also need to know, TJ, what do you want out of this, right? Like sometimes, and I've talked with many women about this, I'm like, sometimes, like if you know that you have, this guy is retiring in 6 months, but he's a total asshole, like, you know, you can handle it for 6 months. You can put up with it for 6 months. Like we're going to put you through it, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a different situation and that man's never retiring, like your best case scenario might be to exit stage left. So I tell people all the time, like there's no right or wrong answer. It really depends on the landscape of the situation. It depends on what goals you have for that scenario and what you need to do. And it's also about risk, right? Like you don't know and you need to assess, like, am I willing to put myself all the way out there?
Yeah.
Am I willing to be judged? You know, and what is the risk of that judgment?
Yeah. Risk is another interesting topic. And I think in the world of sort of male versus female dynamics, there's some interesting differences there. I mean, I think the stereotype would be that males might be more risk taking, but then the flip side of that might be, what are the consequences of taking that risk? If you do, how do you navigate that question of what is a healthy risk to take versus a risk that, you know, even though like in your heart of hearts, you know, I should be able to take this risk, I don't know if I can because the consequences are real.
And they might be real, right? Like they really, you could get fired, right? be ostracized. You could be, I mean, there's a million and one things that could go wrong because the truth of the matter is I don't think we ever really know all the people we work with really, truly deeply, right? Everybody wears masks. And so the people that you're with, you may feel super comfortable with them. Like, I'll give you this an example. I will not tell you if I'm a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. Although if anybody knows me, they probably already know. But I will tell you right now, TJ, that there are people who I have worked with in the past who know that I'm a Republican. There are some people in that same office building that know I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
Told them either way. But people make presumptions. And then when they make those presumptions and you don't correct them, they keep down with that. So there's people out there that did not really know me back in my corporate days.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't my true self because I was playing a game. So just be very cautious about who you're with. Recognize that you don't always know the people that you think you know. Be smart. You have to remember, if this is a work situation, like, you are in it for something, whether that is the experience, whether that is a paycheck, whether that is the benefits, whether that is you just want something to do to fill the hours of your day. You are there for a purpose. And to be very clear on what your purpose is, whether that's more experience or a different industry, and you need to execute that while weighing it against all these risks, right? The risk to your mental health, the risk to your financial stability, right? If you're the breadwinner and you've got a multiple 6-figure job, you can't just up and quit. You bills to pay. So you got to weigh all of these different risks. And then this is why I think community is so important. Talk to different people about different solutions. Because we so often think like there's only two here. I either have to stay and be miserable or go and be miserable. You know? And it's a situation, but you can start talking to other people and get different perspectives. And then from there emerges different solutions.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I think we don't see the full set of solutions often. And the world tends to paint everything in black and white. And so that's how our minds create things. I also think you brought up an interesting point about how much you really know the people. And the way I thought about this was earlier in my career, and this is just true of me always, but I tend
yeah.
I'm just like, every assessment I've ever taken, watch out, TJ, you are quick to trust and you may not actually understand what people are thinking for whatever reason. And as a result of that decision to kind of go a little more vulnerable can show up. And then you can have these experiences where, oof, that came back to bite me. That was used against me. Actually, sharing where something was a struggle suddenly becomes, you're not good at your job. Right. And that gets weaponized against you. So it sucks that that's a reality. But like you said, you kind of have to play within those rules to understand and weigh that against all the stuff you just talked about. What are you willing to deal with on the flip side?
Trust is such an interesting topic for me. And I love it because, TJ, I'm like you. I will trust you from the jump until you prove me otherwise. Right? Then there are the people who are totally different from us. You have to earn their trust. Right? So when you're working with these different types of people, you have to recognize that, like, if you and I were to walk into a building, we would both be vulnerable. All our laundry would be out there and we'd be.
Yeah.
But I'm a very personable person. If you walked in and I was that other kind of person where, like, you have to earn my trust, I would still be friendly with you. I would listen to all your stories. I would engage with them. And you would think I'm a bestie.
Yeah.
I'm probably not reciprocating in the exact same way as you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to recognize that there are so many different facets to people and what it means to share and be vulnerable and risk, and how that correlates with our relationship with trust.
Yeah.
Because I'll also say, after so many years in HR, I am still like, I always believe the best. I believe in consent, and I trust people but I also verify many.
Mhm. Yeah.
But that comes from experience,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
So again, as you grow and climb the corporate ladder and excel in your career, like your vision of trust and your relationship with trust may change, and how you show up may change as well.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of that feels like, the evolution of our emotional intelligence
Yeah.
as we gain more experience and more data points, basically for us to be able to become more aware of ourselves, of others, of how we interact with others, to read those subtle signals, in your two scenarios where both of them look like Erica's really friendly. She likes me. She trusts me. I can trust her. But in the second one, it's like, no, she's holding something in reserve. And like, how do I notice that enough? Not to suddenly be, I don't want to talk to Erica, but more like, okay, I know there's some edges to where I can reveal some stuff.
Well, and like, just for example, I had a client for 10 years that would trash talk about one political party, which happened to be my political party.
Yeah.
And would just trash talk it, and election season would come, and I would always get so stressed because she shared all this with me because, number one, she trusted me.
Yeah.
And did I ever correct her or stand up to her? No, she was a paying client.
Yeah.
And I needed that money. So I wasn't going to, my mother always said, you don't talk about religion and you don't talk about politics. So I would just smile and nod. You're going to have two camps of people that hear this story. You're going to have the camp of people that were like, oh, hell no, you should have said something. And then you're going to have the camp of people who are like, oh no, girl, keep your mouth shut. Like, don't say anything.
Yeah.
This is that exact scenario where we talk about weighing the environment, weighing the risk, right? And I was like, you know what? If I tell her what I really think, she may not think the relationship is close enough, right? She might start to distance herself. She might cancel her services after this package runs out. And then what? Yeah. And I was like, I'm just going to keep it professional with her, right? And so it's a different give and take.
Yeah.
It is with managers in corporate America. When you are, the employee versus the manager, there's different give and takes, right?
Absolutely.
That cannot be as open and vulnerable with you about a lot of the things that are going on behind the scenes, but you can.
Yeah.
And so you recognize all the different power dynamics that exist.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think as a coach, and I do coaching as well, it's like, do I want to interject myself into that conversation? Because I've had similar experiences where lots of people, I mean, it's hard not to talk about politics these days. So it comes up, and times people say things where I'm like, I don't agree with any of what that person's saying. But yeah, it's like you kind of want to go, okay, what is the space they need right now? And recognizing your power in that situation and recognizing that they have some power too, and deciding to let them have it. Yeah. Or keep it. Yeah. It's tough though. Yeah.
Well, it is, but you know what? You don't always have to be the loudest voice in every room.
Yeah. 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 That's
pretty loud. And I think my husband would say I don't follow that, but.
Yeah. But it's tough, right? Because the other thing, and I imagine this might have its own skew as a woman, but as you rise up the ranks, like you want to be loud to some degree. You want people to see you, to notice you. So you're sort of trained to go, look at me, I have something to say. And then you get to a point where if you keep doubling down on I have something to say, particularly as you're a more senior leader, now you're not creating room for anyone else. And so the dynamic really can shift there. And again, I think, tell me, like as a woman, that might have even have more layers to it.
I think the way I've always looked at it is as I grew up the ladder, right? It was initially like I had to prove myself. And then I became a people leader. And then I felt that I had to prove myself still, but I felt this duty to pull up others with me, right? And then as I kept going, my responsibility to shine the light on others grew, and the importance to shine the light on myself diminished, right? And as a chief people officer in the highest position, at the company in HR, my job was to amplify my team. It wasn't to be anything about me, right?
Yeah.
I really felt like I was just there to grow and advise them and I mean, yes, as a chief people officer, you always get the floor at places. You're always talking on stage. People see your title and they think you're super fancy.
Mm-hmm.
And none of that is true, because it's really like, the way I look at it is, if this is probably why work sucks so much, is that most people don't look at the manager role as a role of service.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that when you step into a people leader role of any kind, of any capacity, even if it's an informal leadership type role, your job now becomes a service-based role.
Yeah.
Struggle because, again, we're in the look at me era where everything is about me, and it's that mindset shift that you really have to adopt about, don't shine the light on me, shine the light on my team. And when they rise, we all rise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me be high above looking down below.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny. I came up in a conversation the other day, and I think the word manager is just a terrible word. I mean, manage feels like puppeteer, and I'm moving stuff and I'm controlling, I'm managing, as opposed to when you shift it to the role of service. That's very different. So I think sometimes just hearing the word, I'm a manager now, I must sort of control everything, as opposed to actually you're relinquishing a lot of control when you're in service of somebody and giving people a lot of space and room, and you are there to serve them as somebody who can mentor them, coach them, guide them, teach them, whatever those roles are. And it's just very rarely brought up when you enter those spaces.
Yes, but where my brain goes with this, and what I think is so fascinating, is we have a lot of work to do, but we are getting a lot better, right?
Yeah.
And the world, I'm going to use the word HR here because that's the one most commonly understood, but the world of HR has shifted a lot, right? So, like, pop quiz, what was the first department name for the HR back in the day?
I remember personnel.
Personnel. Right? What I wrote down right there. Personnel. Okay. Then eventually personnel morphed into human resources because somebody was in charge of managing the resources that identified as human. And people were like, oh, we don't want to call people resources, So then it became employee experience in a lot of places. And so HR for employee experience, or employee experience for this or that or whatever. Words matter. And with the shifting of that language from personnel to HR to employee experience, it shifted the roles and responsibilities, truthfully. Culture used to never be a role, Yeah. And so I think we're getting better, but I do think that words matter. And, people understand words like manager, but when you're out there talking with people and you're talking, like, I just cringe so much when people are like, my employees. They're not employees. They're your team members. Like, y'all are on a work team together. They choose to be here. You don't own them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why for people leaders because you are leading a group of people, right? You're giving, you're leading them with guidance and care. And I think that those words really do matter. And like one other one that I'll say, and I still hear it a lot, and it just, it irks me, is when people say like, oh, TJ, yeah, he works for me. No, he works with you.
With you. Yeah.
With you. So like, even if you're talking about the person who comes to clean your home, most people would be like, well, she works for me. She's doing a service. No, she's working with you to keep your home clean.
Yeah.
You have a space you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
Already you're elevating the person, right? Like, you're just like, oh, they work for me. It's like so flippant.
Yeah, it creates a very different mental dynamic.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you are out there and you're introducing people and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like I talk about the woman who produces my podcast all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the woman who I work with. She is my podcast producer. Like she does all these amazing things and da da da. It's not, this is, my podcast producer. She works for me, my show.
Yeah.
It's a totally different vibe and a totally different level of relationship and respect, but it's one that truly does desuckify work.
I agree with that. I think it just shifts like a mental picture in your mind, sort of positional
a hierarchy to
stuff.
A person.
Yeah. Very interesting. Well, I know I've been asking you a lot of questions. I'm curious. Do you have a question you'd like to pose to our audience related to all of what we've been talking about?
I'm just always, my question would be like, do you disagree with anything I said? Or like, am I wrong? Or what do you think about my perspective?
Yeah.
And like, I have a love-hate relationships with podcasts in the fact that I 99% love it. But the one thing that I hate about it is if someone does have a different perspective, it's not like they can be like, hold on, Erica, I got to talk to you about that. And usually if they agree, I don't hear about it. Sometimes if I hear about it.
Yeah.
But if middle of the road or it's like, well, but I have a different thought, I usually don't hear it. So I think my audience would be like, what's your thoughts about my perspectives here?
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great point. And I hope people at least chime in and comments and things like that so we can get some conversation going, because I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. Well, this is the DesuckifyWork podcast. If you could wave a magic wand and fully desuckify the world of work, what does that world look like?
Oh my God. It is a world where it is so diverse that no leadership team looks the same, right? And all the way up and down the ladder, it's that way, right? It is equitable across the board, right? Pay transparency is huge with me, right? But I really think that it is a world where we give our people autonomy to do the work they were hired to do. We give them the freedom to do it. They don't have to do it how I want to do it or how you want to do it. They get to do it the way they want to do it, right? As long as their outcomes are what they need to be, it doesn't matter where they work or when they work or how they work, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about these 40-hour work week bullshit. It's gone, right? You have a job. This is my dream, TJ.
Yeah.
There's a job. And we'll base it on a 40-hour a week if you want to, right? But if you can finish it in 20 hours, you done. You done in 20 hours. If it takes 60 hours, well, hopefully some productivity hacks,
Yeah.
But it will be an outcome-based world, not a butts in the seat. Not, a nice, everything's got to fit in a nice little box.
Yeah.
It's almost like you can't imagine it because everything is so different.
I love it. I can imagine it only because
because it's so different.
Because I tend to align with it. I think the sort of concept of just working towards hours or having to be in a specific place are mostly ridiculous. There are obviously jobs where you need to be somewhere.
If you're a nurse, you're going to have to be at the hospital.
Yeah.
You know that.
But there's a lot of quote unquote knowledge work or whatever we want to call it these days where you can be anywhere and you can do it a lot of different ways. So yeah, I love that. Now we get to have some little fun.
Okay.
If you've listened to my show, you'll hear some cats meowing and other sounds, particularly in the beginning of the show and the end of the show. And I always invite the guests to add their own sound effects. So do you have something you'd love to add to the show? And we'll put it in the intro somewhere.
Well, when I saw this and the first thing I read, and you're like, it's the Desuckify podcast, I was like, oh, I just desuckified it.
I love it. Oh, I'm out of a job now.
Hey,
thank you. Yeah, no, that's perfect. I love it. I mean, I think that's fun. Yeah, that'll find its way into the show somewhere.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it.
So the last question is, we've talked about all this great stuff you're doing, and you've got your books. You've got the book that's already out there, which is Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floors, and you've got a new book coming out, which is about AI. What's the title of that one again?
The AI Gap: Women, AI, and the Next Great Leap Forward.
Awesome. So where can people find out more about your books, your work, your speaking, your coaching, all of it?
All the things. I'll give you 2 websites. and then my other permanent address. Okay. The two websites are ericaandersonrooney.com. That's going to take you to all things Erica. So hit that up. It doesn't have a ton on the new book yet because we're still in cover design phase time. It'll be up there soon. The other one, if you're interested in the coaching community, is Join Her Collective. Also super easy to find. That's got all the information you need. And then my other permanent address, you can hit me up, reach me every day here. Stop by anytime, is LinkedIn. I'm there every day.
Nice. Same.
Every day. So just slide into my DMs. Tell me you heard this podcast. I love having these conversations, especially since I asked for perspectives. This would be a great place. Drop me a DM on LinkedIn. I'm Erica Anderson Rooney. And I don't have any bots responding. It's just me.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I very much appreciate that because those bots, they get under my skin sometimes.
You can tell who they are because they always say,
yes, you can. Nobody's fooling me.
It's not this, it's that.
Right. Exactly. Well, Erica, this was an awesome conversation. I think you've given a lot of people a lot to think about, and I hope that people do take you up, and whether they're DMing you or commenting or whatever, I look forward to the conversation.
I love it. Thanks, TJ.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the DesuckifyWork Podcast, and a huge thanks to Erica for bringing great energy and big ideas to the show. You can follow Erica on LinkedIn and check out ericaandersonrooney.com to learn more about her work and her book. You can also explore her community for women leaders at joinhercollective.com. If you enjoyed the conversation and would like to find some calm in the chaos of work, I invite you to schedule a free half-hour discovery session. Type meow in the calendar invite, and I'll also send you a free DesuckifyWork t-shirt. Bye, everyone.